that we've seen more lead changes here than any match I can remember in a long time. And the last time someone had a 2.5, 1.5 lead halfway through a blitz portion, the other player won 2 games in a row. Last time it was Prague. Will Fabi return the favor? I don't know whose home team. Is the white jersey the home team? Is the blue jersey the home team? It depends on the sport. But yeah, Team Liquid battle here. And we are in for a thriller.
I feel like if I actually had to answer that question, I would say usually the more iconic and deeply colored jersey is the home. So in this case, Prague's, and then the white version of a jersey is usually the away. So if we're really thinking sports here, maybe home field advantage, Prague.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. Well, Fabi is playing faster here. One of the things that was consistent about the last 2 games where Prague took the lead is that Fabi was the one down on the clock. Now Fabi trying to speed up, although, okay, as I say that, he's getting down on the clock. So we'll see what happens with this big hanging pawn structure here in the center.
Yeah, and don't forget this rook c2 and queen a1 idea is actually the reason that there was a hanging tactic in a previous version of this position. So obviously Prague is going to be very, very careful and aware of that, but it was something to do with pawn takes on c5, the knight recapturing, and then this idea of pawn to b5 by Fabi. So keeping that in mind, this is obviously a different position, and the knight is heading to the b4 square because there's no way to remove it.
Yeah, if the knight gets to b4, it will be happy, not just because it hits the rook, but because of the a6 pawn. Sorry for the mouse slip there. But yeah, the knight does ultimately land there. And there's also tension now in the center, although I'm not sure white is really ever threatening to take, because I think this trade would make black happy. So a bit of a staring contest right now on d4.
Yeah, no one really wants to commit. I think usually this pawn on a6 is a little bit of an achievement for white, but it's always nicer when you can complement it with a knight on b5, and we're quite far away from that. Knight on b5 hits the a7 pawn and just renders a lot of the pieces useless there, because you need a full like queen or rook to guard this a7 pawn, but we're not really close to that. And I'm getting the feeling that the knight on b4 hitting the a6 pawn and, you know, can't be dislodged is quite a good piece. So for now, I feel like Fabi is going to be pretty happy with the current situation.
Yeah, agreed. And white's knights are a little more tied up over here. You don't really want to move the one from d2. Those double pawns will hurt. Okay, Fabi decides to blink first in that staring contest. He trades. What's the idea? Something forcing, or maybe he just wants to put a piece on d5 at the end if it's an isolated pawn and say I'm a little positionally better here.
Yeah, there's, depending on kind of how things get recaptured, it's just good to know that knight c2 is just always floating around as an idea supported by the rook on c8. Now here, for example, if you played knight c2, you could probably take and then grab the bishop on g7. So have to be a little bit careful, but it's there, long range bishops. But you mentioned the exchange of dark square bishops. I'm assuming e5 is also a move that you kind of want to follow up with in the center if you can.
Yeah, I like it. You don't move the knight to c5. That would block your own queen from defending the knight. So don't make that blunder. You could move the knight to another square if you wanted, but I don't think it does anything. So here Fabi trade. Ooh, it does do something now because you haven't allowed the rook trade. So a6 is currently being overworked by the 2 knights.
Yeah, and I mean, taking that pawn, it doesn't look like much, but as I've been saying, the bishop on b5 just doesn't make the same impact as a knight, for example. I like the knight on b4 a lot more, so it's not necessarily about winning that a pawn, but just the quality of the pieces does feel a little bit better for Fabi here. So nothing too crazy. I wouldn't be surprised to see, I was going to say h3, but maybe even h4, because h5 looks like something.
Ah, interesting. I wasn't even thinking about that. That would be an AlphaZero idea to start playing h4, h5. Oh, he doesn't play h4, h5, but I think it's super funny. Once you pointed it out, I'm like, this is why AlphaZero liked these ideas. I do like this idea for Fabi. The knight on a5 hits b3. Okay, this is no good.
Knight a2.
Is knight a2 just forking? Oh, no,
knight
then queen
queen
c7.
So, man,
yes.
This is he's almost like seeing the tactic and then allowing it on purpose, which is the most devious type, right?
Well, it shocked both of us. I thought queen c3 must be a blunder because of the fork, but no, it's not. It's actually not the best move because the engine says bishop c6 would force an exchange, and then white has big problems because a6 becomes weak. There are still forks, and the d3 square is a problem. So bishop c6, an awkward move to see, but it's the only move for Fabi to have an edge.
And bishop c6, extremely strange move. Knight d5. If we are moving that knight, you place bishop c6. I'm very impressed by this move because there was nothing that was really bringing that bishop there. He just found this idea and realized that this is the way that he should be treating the position.
Yeah, and if this bishop is gone, as we said, a6 becomes a problem and d3 becomes a problem. But super impressive, I agree. Knight d5, a more natural way to attack and defend c7. But bishop c6 was the best according to the engine. Fabi finds it, and maybe, just maybe, he'll level the score. Look at the clock.
Wow. I mean, it's such a powerful move. Knight a2 now is the intention after capturing, and just what a concoction there.
Yeah, it's actually... Oh, and he finds it. Oh my gosh, what a precise game here from Fabi to come back from the break. I think he's just... Yeah, he's going to play rook c8, and he just... Or queen c7. I guess both win material because the bishop is pinned. And just like that, I think we're going to have
b4, queen takes c6. Okay.
Queen takes.
But actually, queen f1. Hang on.
Hold on.
Yeah. Okay, I knew there was something. b4 was like... I felt that there was something there. What a find from Pragg. I'm shocked by the find from Fabiano. Dare I say I'm more impressed by the recovery find by Pragg there. That's insane.
Agreed. 100% agreed. This was harder to find, I think, for Pragg, especially because you have that emotional ride of having maybe blundered, and yet you stick with it.
That's incredible. White's better, by the way. There's big threats to the king as well.
Yeah, the queens and knights are dangerous. Here comes that alpha pawn. You're going to see weird mating nets here if you blunder.
Yeah, we need some activation. This move, by the way, is to support knight e4 as well as queen e8.
Wow. Okay, pure time scroll ahead. You got to move. You got 2 seconds if you're Pragg. Here comes the a pawn. Oh, you got to move.
Scary.
Every moment is living on the increment.
The a pawn's going way too quick. There's no threat. Oh my gosh. Knight h4
There's no threat. Black is just going to queen.
Yep.
You got to move. You got 5 seconds. No, he hasn't moved yet. But
1 second.
I think Fabi should have just gone for the queen, but he didn't. Oh my gosh. What is happening here?
And a queen is now appearing. There's knight g5, but the double queens are covering. What an insane position.
Double queens for 2 knights. This is not out of the realm, by the way, that Pragg can't win this. This is absolutely crazy with the knights on the board.
Yep. Knight f4. This is just tense. Like there's nothing about this that is a free win.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. You could fork yourself at any moment.
Queen b7. Oh my goodness.
Okay, be careful. Don't fall for a knight.
I'm so worried about a fork here.
This is so crazy. Oh my gosh.
Amazing.
Okay, both sides
move. Well timed.
Okay, does he... Oh, he gets the queens off. That's huge.
And it would be such an interesting position if the pawns weren't there on the A file, but this is 100% over.
Oh my